Welcome back to Prometheus Podcasts. I'm Landon Wade. I'm here with Sean Jew.
Hey.
And Colin Burns.
Howdy.
And we're excited to bring to you episode 6. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised we made it this far. We're still going. This is good. And so we're excited to talk about this episode, pet peeves in architecture. And we'll talk about a little bit about pet peeves in life too, but I think I personally want to keep some of those secrets so y'all don't come pester me with stuff. But anyway, we'll start with our segment, A Day in the Life in Architecture School. So right now, what's today? Today, the day we're recording is March 2nd. Spring break is coming up.
Yeah.
1 week.
Yeah, 1 week till spring break. And
crunch time, baby.
yeah, spring break is kind of an interesting thing in architecture school because for a lot of people in architecture school, spring break doesn't really exist.
Every day's a break in architecture.
Yeah, they so ergo, a lot of professors will assign you plenty of work to do over spring break, so you don't really have time to relax and have fun. Some professors will assign you work that you really can only do if you're at school. Yeah, and some of them, so it's really difficult to have a real spring break in architecture school. Very few professors actually are respectful of the break, at least in our experience.
I don't know. I remember my first year I had to come to studio and pull 3-4 all-nighters just doing drawings.
I remember that. Yep.
That was sad.
I was at home partying.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere that spring break, and I was using spring break to catch up, kind of like Sean was. But I remember seeing him there.
Well, everybody saw me there. Some professors came up to me and just like, "Why are you here?" And I'm just like, "Well, I got to do drawings." And they're just like, "Go home."
Yeah, but I was even in a class in a studio, and we were talking about having a break, like Thanksgiving break, I think it was, and the professor was like, "Wait, you guys actually take breaks?" She was surprised. She was a new professor at the time at the college, and so she was like, "Wait, you guys actually take breaks here?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like trying to play it off. Yeah, we take break. Yeah, we definitely have breaks. Trying to teach her the way we wanted it to be.
You
right?
Tell her, Landon. You
Right.
tell her.
He was trying to manipulate the teacher.
I was trying to finesse the systems.
No, you weren't finessing. You were manipulating.
She didn't give 2 jacks about it, though.
Anyway.
She still assigned work.
Yeah, unfortunately that's just kind of a no-win situation. So since spring break's coming up, we're having a lot of work, and that's kind of an opportunity. The professors see it as an opportunity for us to catch up on the assignments they've given us, or do more assignments.
Yeah.
Which sucks. But there's also midterm reviews, things like that coming up. And we've already talked a little bit about reviews and how those work. They're kind of like our big tests or finals, but instead of a test, it's a presentation of the work that you've done up to that point in your studio.
So to a certain point, we can argue that in architecture, we don't spend as much money as other majors, because other majors will have to buy Scantrons and blue books, and we don't have to.
Yeah, the contrary is that we
Except
have
for the $600 a semester we spend on printing and materials.
Yeah, and then plus the few $100s we spend on
a 1 weekend trip to a site.
Yep, and then yep. So we do spend a considerable amount of money.
No, we don't. We don't even need to buy textbooks.
Yeah, no textbooks, but they make up for it. They definitely make up for it. Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on right now in architecture school. We're just working right now. Today I had a one-on-one with my professor, and he apparently was pretty disappointed in some of the work I've been doing lately, or with my work ethic.
You've been disappointing a lot of people lately.
Apparently, yeah. That's wasn't very fun, but we just keep working forward. Keep pushing to get the job done.
If I can give a tip to a new architecture student that might want to follow this path of learning, I would say try to disappoint your professors as soon as possible and keep their expectations low. So whenever you do disappoint them, they're just like, it's him. But whenever you do something mediocre, they're just like, oh my goodness, he did this? instead of, oh, I had good expectations for you, but you failed to reach it.
Yeah, that's one way to go about it. I don't know if I would completely endorse that approach, but
It's endorsed by Sean.
endorsed by Sean. Probably
Who,
not.
quote unquote, will do anything for money.
Yeah, Sean, quote unquote,
And A's.
will do anything for money or good grades. Yeah. So, anyway, that's what we're going through right now. That's what architecture school is like at the moment. One thing that comes up pretty frequently in our day-to-day in architecture are things that frustrate us about architecture and life. You know, those pet peeves and things like that. I think just in general, you know, one of my pet peeves, let me think, well, what are my pet peeves? I don't really...
Life pet peeve.
Yeah, life pet peeves. We're starting with life pet peeves to kind of...
Loud noises.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But thanks, Colin. I hate loud noises a lot. It's okay, like, if I'm expecting them. Unexpected loud noises completely drive me up the wall. Like, if you want to piss me off, like, really quickly, just make a really loud noise that I'm not expecting.
So wake him up with a pot and pan.
Yeah, no, that's very, very frustrating. So that's even, after a while, it gets hard for me to hang out with, like, around people that are super loud or super sudden and stuff. And so, like...
How are we still friends?
I don't know. That's a good question. I said that, and I was like, how am I still... Anyway.
You hypocrite.
Or, like, environments there's just, like, a lot of noise and things like that. It's just, I struggle. I kind of like being in quiet environments.
Oh,
music,
so that's why you don't go clubbing.
Yeah,
now I know.
That's the real reason.
Now I know.
Yeah, now you know. But that's kind of probably the first. Yeah, Colin knew that one right off the bat.
No, there are plenty of ways to piss you off. I think I've done almost all of them.
Probably.
See? Now I'm pissing him off.
Stop. Get your foot out of my face. Anyway, so what about Sean and Colin? What do you guys... What's some of your pet peeves?
Why don't you go first?
My biggest pet peeve would have to be word fillers. When people use word fillers, I hate it. I'm not gonna say I dislike. I hate it.
So, like, what do you mean by word fillers? Is it like well, I mean, like, it's just like, I don't
It's kind of...
I just don't understand. Like, what is it? It's like, it's so weird to talk about words.
So for those of you that don't know, I drive Sean around everywhere, and he just got his what do you call, pass revoked. No more free rides or rides at all.
You just said you hypocrite.
I was doing it for emphasis.
Yeah, Sean just doesn't have any pet peeves.
I have pet peeves. Being around with the very religious people is one of my pet peeves.
His biggest pet peeve is when you bring up people that he has disappointed in the past.
Oh,
oh my gosh.
Like,
no, that's not my pet peeve, but I don't think anybody wants to talk about those things. My real pet peeve is a spider.
Oh yeah.
That's not a pet peeve, that's a phobia.
No, I don't have a phobia. I'm not like...
Or you scream like a little girl when a spider comes in anywhere near you.
Yeah, but phobia has to do with something that, like...
You clean jumped out of my car and almost had a heart attack in the middle of the street because there was a spider in the car.
Maybe
that's a phobia.
Maybe it is a phobia. My general life pet peeve is... Oh, yeah. Seeing people that aren't dressed. Like, dressed.
Like, appropriately?
I mean, not even appropriately. It's like... Some people just look like they were getting dressed and then they forgot that they were getting dressed and came out of the house.
Oh, like you in your sweatpants?
No, like... I completely pull my sweatpants up to my waist. But those people that sag their pants and wear a t-shirt that's about 5 times too big for them.
Sean's starting to sound like it's an old, like, 70-year-old...
Back in my day.
Dang kids.
It's like...
You darn millennials.
Those damn millennials, God.
Yeah.
You know that people that are born in year 2000 are going to be freshmen next year in college?
That's weird, dude.
Next semester, not even next year.
Yeah, isn't it? Holy crap.
Yeah, they're going to be 18. Congratulations to those that, and you really should stop listening to us if you are.
Oh, I remember the pet peeve that I have. One thing I like really struggle with. This is ironic after I tell people that like my work ethic hasn't been great in the studio. I really struggle with apathy. Like, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like when somebody just like is lazy and doesn't want to do something. That's straight up.
Again, how are we still friends?
See, again, I have
don't
no idea.
get it.
I don't know, but I
am the living pet peeve of Landon.
Maybe that's why you're friends. You're every pet peeve in one.
You should be livid that I even exist.
It overloads his brain. He just doesn't know what to do.
Short circuits. I don't know. That's a really good question. Maybe we should explore that some podcast. You know, why are we friends?
I don't have problems with people being lazy, but I have
because you're one of them.
Well, I mean, no, because I think
Sean's understanding. He has lazy people sympathy.
I just think laziness doesn't have to mean that you're not going to get your work done by the end.
Well, no, it definitely doesn't. But I think more when apathy starts to really get on my nerves is when... How can I phrase this? I think it's when, like, somebody just, like, in general has a crappy work ethic, like, is lazy, and somehow still gets... like the same reward and recognition as someone who's just been working their...
Oh, so you don't like talented people? That's what you're saying?
No, there's a big difference.
In architecture, there's very few talented people.
Yeah,
it's something that most people have to work for.
So the only reason why Landon's okay with me is because I get B's and C's in studio.
Well, no, that's the thing. Is like you put your work off, but it's the same amount of work. You just crush it into like a week beforehand. So like your timing's different, but I would argue it's the same amount of work.
Let's talk about said person in our...
No, we're not going to talk about... dangerous territory.
Said person doesn't work hard or puts in 30 minutes in a model. Said person B puts in 5 hours in a model, but they both get the same recognition and the same quality.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to mention names. My bad. Ooh, that's a dangerous territory.
No, we're going to keep it professional here. But, yeah, so that's why apathy makes me mad is when... You know, there was somebody, Sean, he was in our studio, what was it, a year ago, so last spring.
Yeah.
I was in our studio. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh.
I think we all know who you're
like,
talking
he's
about.
he's like the living definition of apathy, and man, it's just that super big pet peeve of mine.
He also...
Super laziness.
I don't want to mention it, but... If we want to, we could have him criminally charged for
he's
things.
Not very academically integrable.
Integral. I think
Integral.
He doesn't have integrity. Yeah, he's copied some work and things like that. Anyway. But that's probably one of the reasons apathy makes me so mad is because it's almost a straight route to like cheating and other things like that because it's just...
I don't have problems with people cheating. I don't have problems with people copying work. But only thing I have a problem with is that, like, when you run out of options, sure. I mean, go ahead and copy something. There's nothing wrong. I don't think there is something wrong with...
Like, I don't know. In architecture, copying somebody's kind of highly frowned
upon. Well, not like blatantly going out there and taking your project, but, like, looking at everybody's stuff and taking piece by piece and making it your own. There's no problem with that when you run out of your own creativity.
Well, there's a clear separation between copying or stealing ideas and using other people or looking at others' ideas to enrich your own and to like use.
Of course, I'm not endorsing plagiarism, but I mean, everybody's. I don't know about Landon, but I know for sure that 98% of all students, probably around the world, has copied a homework or two. At least.
Let's be honest, if you're in college, we know you've copied at least a couple of homeworks.
Yeah, Landon.
There's no way.
What?
Have you?
Yeah, well, like, we've done group work and things like that. I can't remember a time when I've just, like, gotten a homework, written word for word, like, the answers that I saw on there. Most of the time when I do it, it's to understand what
Oh,
the heck the answer to the question
yeah.
is.
I haven't done those things in like.
Yeah.
When was the last construction homework due? Oh, 2 days. Haven't done those things in 2 days.
Anyway. So okay, so I think we got a good grip, kind of pet peeves, real world pet peeves and things like that. What? Colin snort. Architecture.
Stop snorting cocaine. It's not spring break yet.
All right. And architecture pet peeves. Go. Who's got one?
I got one.
Yeah.
Inconsistency.
Okay.
And when I'm talking about inconsistency,
I don't know. I would say cookie cutter houses are pretty consistent.
No, that's why I love cookie cutter houses.
Got one.
I like cookie cutter
Got him.
houses. I don't know about you guys, but I'm all for it. If that's how you make money, that's how you make money. People make money just by posting things on YouTube. Oh wait. Please donate.
Sean Jew will do anything for money.
Anyways, when I'm talking about inconsistency in architecture, I'm talking about if you have a concept, if you have something that you're going for in a building and you just suddenly change something up to make it look better or something like that, that's kind of off your track. That's something that I don't
Is
like.
this some self-reflection right now?
I mean, I've never gotten off the track. I've made the track wider at times, but never gotten off track.
Yeah, Sean's talking. Yeah, I can dig like when
Wow, it's really groovy, man.
Groovy.
whatever. No, I get that because I just get.
There's nothing wrong with widening your track and adding things as you go.
Well, they're having broadening the language of the design.
Yeah.
But when you start speaking a completely different language entirely is when it starts getting conflicting.
I have a problem when somebody starts like talking to me in English and ends the conversation with Hebrew. Like I can't understand Hebrew.
Could have just gone with Spanish, but okay.
Yes, like
We need to respect all races in this world.
All examples, you go to Hebrew. Yeah, all right, Colin. What about you? What are your architecture pet peeves?
I really don't have any. I mean, most of my pet peeves lie within residential architecture. You know, the door is in the front, and there's normally 2 to 3 windows on the front of a house.
So your pet
in
peeve
the living
is a
room.
system.
Yeah. I mean, those are just my pet peeves. Like, other than that, I don't really have any.
So Colin, you just don't like the system. The system is your pet peeve.
Wow.
Convention, we could call it.
All right, V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when you can look out your window and see your house on the house across the street. Like,
So more like cookie cutter designs. You have a problem with those?
yeah, well, let's be honest.
Not
Probably
me.
the majority of us have lived in a cookie cutter house.
Me?
That's true.
I love my house.
We live in one right now.
We literally
That's
do.
true.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So maybe that's kind of where I get going with
Lack of creativity.
my pet peeves. Yeah, lack of creativity is frustrating. I think with something like apartments or student housing, like repetition just makes a lot of sense because you have a great mass and things like that. The thing I dislike about our apartments is the fact that like you get these funky little fake like facade things, and like check this out, they have sunshades on some of our windows that are completely not functional. Like they put them like 4 feet above the window and they stick out like 2 feet on the north side. So it's like the sun doesn't hit them at all. So they're it's just to look cool or
And
whatever.
our facades are painted in such way where I seriously thought when I first moved in here that I was looking at like 1960s experiment with like nuclear bombs, and they're just painting whatever and doing whatever in that like little fake town.
Yeah, it's just super weird. And well, the thing I guess is additionally frustrating to that in terms of like doing fake aesthetic things on buildings is that they could spend that money that they do spend doing fake aesthetic things on actually making the inside of like a better.
And that happens way more often than people think it does, because a lot of the buildings are just made of concrete blocks, but they cover it up with bricks and all these other things.
Yeah, and lots of times there really isn't a purpose to it. Sometimes they do it as like, for example, it's like a cavity wall. So like sometimes there's a purpose to have your cinder block on the inside
Yeah.
and your brick, and then you've got the space between for water and air to for the building to breathe.
And there's so many things that you can just do with naked concrete. Like, just look at Toyo Ito's works. Like, they're beautiful. Like, I absolutely don't like talking about him, but Le Corbusier did a lot of things with concrete.
Yeah, he did. He did.
And it just, it's like there's so much potential, and you're just covering it up with some fake stuff that nobody even is interested in
We also
seeing.
have to think they're balling on a budget. So they're trying to stay within budget.
But I guess that's partly what we're saying is like they spend budget making things look like it's unnecessarily spent money because it's just aesthetic or it's just to make it look like everything else and like that.
Well, most places don't plan for an architect to live in them and
Well,
just
I don't know.
disown
Architecture
everything.
school.
Right, but here's the thing: it's like it's this status quo that we have in architecture, or it's just the fact that like society feels the need to dumb down architecture, that they're uncomfortable with certain structures or whatever. It's like I don't know. It's something I understand, but I don't like it. I wish I could change it. That's one thing I'd like to change as an architect.
Oh, does this lead into the elitist stuff?
I don't know if it leads into elitist stuff. It's just that if I could really make a change in architecture, one of the things I'd want to do is change the public's perspective of architecture, and that honestly, that's kind of why we're doing the podcast and stuff. For one of my reasons for doing it is because the more you educate the public about architecture, the more educated decisions they're going to make about it.
Yeah.
So people won't, if they understand, rationalism, for example, which I'm a rationalist, which for those of you that don't know, a rationalist or a rationalism in architecture is just like buildings that don't have unnecessary parts. They're everything in them and around them it's very necessary. They don't have just decorations for decoration's sake. It's all necessary.
Land is a modernist.
Oh, well, a little bit in that. It depends on what kind of modernist you're talking about. Anyway, getting back to the pet peeve conversation. That was a pretty big tangent. But getting back to the pet peeve conversation, I struggle with that. Cookie cutter homes I struggle with. No, yeah.
Not me.
I struggle with them because there's an opportunity there. It's just wasted with that.
I think if a field isn't required anymore, like, cookie cutter homes, you don't need architects to build them. You need maybe to like start up the business. You might need an architect or two to just stamp the designs, saying that they're approved. But you don't really need architects to design it. And if that's where this field has come to where you just need architects to stamp stuff that somebody else just mindlessly designs in.
Most of it you don't even need a stamp for anymore.
Yeah, and then we need to realize as architects, and people need to realize that architecture is dead. And we need to accept the fact. And I think it's a clear sign that there are so many residential homes that are cookie cutter homes, what we define as cookie cutter homes, which shows lack of creativity and lack of demand for creativity that goes into those houses. And if that becomes a norm, which it already has become a norm, I think, then we can clearly say that real architecture as we are dreaming of is probably dead.
I would disagree because there is still the exception. There's still people that will go for a custom home or something different.
Yeah, there is, but that's a very minority.
Well, but as long as they exist, architecture will still exist.
Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 architects per country will exist, but that's...
Well, and you look at commercial building too, or building museums or libraries, things like that, like Seattle Public Library.
Can we really say all the high rises that are in downtowns aren't by definition cookie cutters?
Well, no, I'd say like high rises and things like that could definitely fall under the category of cookie cutters. When I said commercial, I guess I'm talking like
commercial includes more than just business.
No, I'm just pulling out an example from the commercial.
No, that's a great example. Those are totally cookie cutter. I'm talking like museums, libraries, things that are
unique.
Really, yeah, they are really unique in what they have in them. Because like an office building, Like you need a floor slab and a building core, and like that's pretty much it.
You're talking about public programming.
Yeah, I'm talking. I guess rather than the term commercial, I should use the term public because, commercial. Yeah,
you gotta realize those public, when you say like libraries and airports, and things like that become unique, are most of the time funded by local or federal government.
Yeah.
So can you really say that people aren't moving away from architecture because of that, when they're getting solely or partly funded by the government, whose job is to kind of get those things intact and care for everybody?
You might have to rephrase that question. That was kind of...
So like,
that's too deep for me right now.
So the government, their goal is to care for the taxpayers, first of all, and the citizen.
Correct. Okay.
And so architects are taxpayers also, and they have to somewhat not guarantee, but still provide jobs that can actually strengthen the country as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why there are still those big projects out there, like the library designs and airport designs, that's funded by the government fully or partially. But in reality, all the private fundings and private orders that come from private citizens, they're mostly cookie cutters. They're mostly just things that you can ask even somebody with bachelor in science of architecture, and we can still come out with a pretty dang good looking project for a cookie cutter. So I just think public's moving away from creativity, and it's a sad reality, but it is a reality after all. Like,
yeah, but I don't think it's dead yet, and I think there will be an architectural revival at some point. It's a cyclical thing.
There's better be. I'm going into the field.
Yeah. Well, because and there are places that do thrive on custom architecture.
They do.
It's just that we happen to live in a place that urban sprawl and cookie cutter is like the potatoes and gravy down here. It's like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's hard. You'd be strange to find a custom home down here, and even more than that, you'd be strange to find a custom home that's actually worth something.
Oh.
Because a lot of the custom homes down here are hideous.
Remember when we went to that rich part of the town, and they had colonnades in front of their houses that blocks window views.
Yeah.
And it was just painful to look. And we were first years, so we don't even know that much about architecture. We were just like, yeah, that colonnade definitely blocks the view. Like, there's no point of having one of which, like, you need to get rid of the colonnade to see out, or if you don't want to see out, then you need to get rid of the window.
Yeah, we're talking.
Have you ever been to a plantation house?
Yeah.
It's the same way.
No, but they don't block. They don't completely block it. They do take some of the viewing away.
Bad. Yeah, these were bad.
Yeah, these were like almost connected to the window.
Yeah, no, it's pretty bad.
Were they connected to a balcony?
No. There was no balcony, and
they were this colonnade, like oversized, false also. Like,
way oversized.
They weren't actually structural. Like the structure was hidden inside, but it was really small.
If the roof was like made out of metal and filled with lead, maybe it was necessary.
It was ridiculous. As first year students, we could already perceive that. Like it's huge, very frustrating.
But somebody was living in that house.
True. Well, but that's the thing is it's like I would almost bet money they wanted a house that was 10,000 square feet because that was a huge rich. That was
a mansion.
They wanted a house that was 10,000 square feet, and they went to the lowest bidder. An architect that charges a low fee and a contractor that charges a low fee, so they ended up with a cheap design and an architect that just needs money, doesn't care about the design, and a contractor that got cheap materials, etc. And so
boom, now you have the holy trinity of cookie cutter designs.
Well, and so it's like not only
that's not a cookie cutter house. Yeah,
even though that was custom, it was still trash, and that's what I'm saying is because it's like, is this huge? It's just it's frustrating. Mediocrity It's frustrating.
So that's your pet peeve, mediocrity.
Well, okay, let me dive into that a little bit more. It's more money than mediocrity because money is what motivates most of those decisions, if you think about it.
You're arguing with the wrong person.
Oh, of course I am. Of course I am, because your God is money, pretty much. So it's like, you know.
We'll get back to you with that episode next week.
Yeah, right.
That's an interesting episode.
Anyway. So yeah, and I guess that's kind of sums up my pet peeves because I was going to talk about or at least mine, but I was going to talk about how the buildings on campus where we go to school.
The Spanish Renaissance.
It's supposed to, quote unquote Spanish Renaissance, which
it never existed.
Yeah, may or may not be an actual real.
It's not a real thing.
Is not actually is not a real style, and on top of that, these buildings. They could have looked like anything, but it's just the facade that they stamped on there. So if you look at I was looking at this university the other day. It was University of Oklahoma, and some of the architecture there, and you know, who am I to compare? Like, you know, I'm an architecture student, so I can't say how it compares to the classics.
Yeah.
But I can say that it stayed true to classical architecture. Maybe not technically classical. I'm just saying the design. Because you have these parted facades that are actually extruded. There's actually a depth to the facade, a physical depth to the facade. Whereas some of the buildings on our campus, the facades are divided, but there's no depth. It's just if you were to strip off all the facade, it would still be a straight wall.
Well, yeah, Colin and I were having this conversation where you take a pile of crap, and you can wrap it in the most beautiful gift wrap in the world.
Still crap.
And when you open that up, it's still going to be a pile of crap. Nothing's going to change inside.
Yep.
And you're probably not going to like it. I don't know. There are some people that are into weird things. But it's still probably going to be a pile of crap, and people aren't probably going to enjoy it.
Yeah. So that's I guess, it's not hard to design in a way that's inexpensive. It's not hard to design well. Like, good design doesn't cost. It really doesn't. You just need to be a good architect.
Good design shouldn't cost, I think.
I think it just takes so much time.
And that's the thing. Yeah,
time is money in professional world.
Yeah.
And you know.
And I mean, if I can pull off like that's the comparison. If you can pull off $1 million per design that takes you 3 years to do. Or a design that can get you $50,000 per, but you're pulling it out every 3 days. That $50,000 design that's going to take you 3 days is going to get you more money at the end of 3 years, because one of them is going to make just $1 million. The other one's going to make however much.
But in turn, if you think about it in a broader picture, if I spend, a year on a house project that gets me $1 million, but it's a well thought out, well designed house, what other exposure does that lend me to?
That's true.
Yeah.
If you just pump out a bunch of really crappy cookie cutter houses, you're not going to get any real exposure to bigger things.
I mean, yeah, but this guy's pulling $50,000 every 3 days.
But how long would that last if his designs suck?
I don't know, but I'm thinking until...
let me put it to you this way. Let's say I spend a year designing $1 million mansion, and, it just comes out super great. I get put on architecture magazine covers, on the news, on TV outlets. Next thing you know, I've got athletes coming to me to design houses, companies coming to me to design country club houses.
And when we both retire, we'll probably be driving the same car.
See, you don't know that though. Because here's the thing. What Colin's saying is,
well, you gotta look at.
Actually, I can. My friend's uncle does.
We're not gonna drive the same car, Colin.
He works for. He is an architect that redesigns car factories that have, codes that have to be redesigned every 3 years for the factory, and then it's every 4 years for an actual dealership. He works for Mercedes, Lexus, and BMW. Now that he does this for them, they give him extremely discounted prices on cars. And he's driven Mercedes, Lexus, and Beamers. He's driven an M4. He's had, I don't know the latest, like the IS 350 or whatever. And he's also had a S-Class Mercedes.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't he doesn't make a lot of money, but these things also give him perks.
No, yeah. I'm not trying to discount
and
all
he's
the
pretty
perks.
well known because he's the only architect that does that in the Metroplex where he's at.
I'm not trying to discount all the perks that comes with it. Of course, getting featured in Art Daily or whatever website or magazines that
was it Architecture Vogue?
Yeah, Architecture looks at like Architecture Cosmopolitan, and you become the cover of it. Like, I'm not trying to deny all those perks, but I mean,
your architecture dream comes true.
It's like 500 ways to have architectural sex. We're talking
1, get a degree.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not trying to deny all those, perks that come with it. I'm just saying, strictly monetary value wise, it can be considered that way. And a lot of architects that go out there on the field and, kind of think, hey, there are people that are better than me, and I'm kind of one of the guys in the middle. They tend to think that way, and they kind of go about it that way.
Well, I guess, but there's a lot of value in doing and having just a good solid project, because that can always bring in more money. So
that could mean a difference between you getting a job at somewhere you don't know in Nebraska or at Gensler.
I would much rather die poor but be remembered for a long time than be rich and never be remembered.
If I'm rich enough, I'll be remembered.
That's true. I would take fame over money.
I would take money over everything.
As long as I can give my
I guarantee you there are a ton of rich people out there that never get remembered. Why? Because they didn't do anything.
There are, but
they just had a ton of money.
You have to be special kind of rich.
Well, we don't have to argue all that right now. We're talking about pet peeves, now we're talking about money.
Well, my pet peeve is being poor.
My pet peeves.
And that goes for real life and architectural. That's not a pet peeve.
You just don't want to be poor. It's not a pet peeve.
Anyway.
Have you ever been poor?
Anyway.
Yeah.
You. Not your family before you were existing, but poor.
Okay, we're going to talk about this off the record. Not on the podcast, because I don't like my personal history.
Because if you want to go, my family was poor, before. Well, yeah, my family was poor too before I was born, but that doesn't mean you were poor.
Everybody was poor.
This is going to be off the record conversation.
Anyway.
We're going to cut it here.
Yeah. So I think before we get too, in depth in some things, we could probably wrap it up. I think it's we're at 38 minutes, something like that. So I think we're pretty good. It's good.
I mean, if you want to kind of talk about, I don't know, more pet peeves. Do you have more pet peeves?
Honestly, I think we've covered
rectilinear architecture.
No,
that is my biggest pet peeve.
I don't have a problem with rectilinear architecture, and not because they make money. I don't want to argue that point again, but if the concept is correct, and if the direction where the architect wants to take it is correct, then I don't think there's anything wrong with rectilinear architecture.
Well, that's why it's not your pet peeve; it's mine.
Well, yeah.
That's ironic, because you're the one of us that wants to be a contractor, and every contractor will complain about anything that's not rectilinear, because they'll say, well, materials are all cut in right angles. Why don't you just build a building right angles?
Yeah, I wonder who it is. Man, it really gets me wondering.
Yeah, anyway. But, yeah, I think that's pretty good. So that's pretty good coverage. Obviously, we ended up branching off, talking about some other...
What's your pet peeve?
Yeah, what's your pet peeve? Share with us.
And we can also go off topic with those.
Yeah, we can podcast about those. About your pet peeves.
I want to talk about some comments. I don't want to come up with a new topic every week. So please comment on what you want to listen to.
That's actually a great idea. Yeah. Comment, like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, share us a story.
All those good social media verbs.
Donate.
Sean Ju will do anything for money.
If you donate and you prove that you donated money and you put down what you want me to do, I'll probably do it as long as it's legal.
Hashtag Sean Ju will do anything for money.
Anything legal.
Hashtag do it for the Benjamins.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We appreciate your time. This is from Prometheus Studios and the Prometheus podcast.
Whoa, why such a promiscuous look?
I don't know.
That was kind of creepy.
It felt kind of cool saying Prometheus Studios.
Looked like Harvey Weinstein before a party.
We just need to call oh my god.
Bill Cosby?
We just need to call my bedroom our studio from now on. So it's just like,
wow. Okay.
we
went there.
Wow, I'm getting out of here. All right.
Yeah, we definitely need to end now. So thanks for listening. We'll see
Thank
y'all
you.
later. Bye.
Bye.